Before we wrap up, there is one other area I would like to touch on. And I saved it for last because it is a very sensitive area. And given that the Heart Leader podcast is part of Suivera, which is an all belief system organization, it's very sensitive, but it's one that hits home. And that's the religious focus on monogamy, which I support very, very strongly in that belief system and that flow. But in that, we also have to understand that it doesn't mean that you can't have friends of all types. And if somebody doesn't choose that, it doesn't make it bad in any way, right? So I'm touching on this very lightly because we don't believe in right, wrong, or we believe in love, in loving everyone as they express themselves authentically, wholly, and purely. And so when you get to a stage where you use your religious theology to enforce your control on how somebody else should live their life, and you tell them that they can't have friends of the opposite sex or other ways, we have to begin to ask ourselves why. Again, it was a huge part of many relationships I was a part of. You cannot have friends of the opposite sex. Again, I'll go back to it is still cheating. It is emotional cheating. It is psychological cheating. It is spiritual cheating for you to have friends who are of the opposite sex. You can have all the female friends you want. You may not have male friends. I understand and I will honor anyone's path. But I do again come back to why. Why is that necessary? What is the point of that if it is not control?
I don't know how to answer that other than I can't see any other way personally as well. I'm definitely open to be enlightened and understand the perspective. But yeah, I mean, going back to your kind of part about, monogamy or otherwise, I mean, we know individuals and are aware of individuals that, may approach monogamy or their relationship differently. They might be polyamorous, again, and then it goes back to
Open
transparency, right? If they communicate effectively to each other and that's what both of them desire and that's the experience they have, then that is in some way a transparency triangle, a little bit more, maybe more of a love triangle too, in that sense, but, or more, but it's, that's
agree.
what they, if that's what they, now, if it's done, under the guise that it's not happening, that's a very different thing. And that's not from a place of judgment or it should be this or X, Y, and Z. That's just from a place of transparency versus not transparency. And so when it comes to the control part, yeah, I mean, I don't know beyond the why of that. And I believe it's many people don't ask the why, because in some ways they want to, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, maybe not take responsibility for the fact that they are being controlling, or they don't desire to see themselves as that way. And so they're basically, for lack of a better term, offshoring, or,
Outsourcing.
Outsourcing. That's
there
the
you
word.
go.
Thank you. I was like, that's not right. Outsourcing the illusion onto something outside of themselves, like religion or belief system or anything like that, so that it makes them okay. And it's like, oh no, it's this other thing outside of me that's, it's not me, and so again, now, if it goes back to both parties believe that, or both individuals or multiple individuals in that are all transparent and that thing is what they believe in, then I guess, is that control if everyone's going into it in agreement and they're of, full transparency within that and choose to flow within that framework? That might be something different.
I can stand by that. As long as everybody's in agreement, then that's aligned agreement. And that's why these kind of conversations are so important, right? Because that, to me, what you just described, is the difference between agreement and control. And if everyone agrees who's entered into it, then it's fine. But if you haven't agreed to it and that is being asserted over you, then that is control.
Yeah. Or if you don't take the time to understand and collectively describe the why, if the answers are because this is the way it's always been, or this is just what we believe, well,
This is what we've always done.
This is what we've always done. Then that's not an agreement. That is still a one-sided control mechanism without a true understanding of transparency.
And to bring it full circle back into our topic for today, often we end up holding these beliefs about opposite sex friendships in our relationships, and we don't even know where we got that belief. It could have been passed down to us. It could have been something we picked up along the way. We don't even know why we believe this anymore. We just have this stigma around it, and we hold so tightly to it, but we haven't even asked why. Why do I have this perception that there's something so negative about the person I love having a friend? Where did that get into my thought system in the first place? And if we just take a moment and we feel through it and we go, do I really want to control my partner like this? Is this really the experience we desire to have together? And if it's not, then how do I start to break my own cycle so that this isn't the experience I have anymore? That's how we truly start to build a strong and long-lasting relationship, not just with our partner, but with ourselves, right? Because now we're forming a pattern where we start to ask why to everything. We start to question things and we start to really understand what we fundamentally believe, because it's what we choose to believe, not because it's what we've been spoon-fed from everywhere else.
Absolutely, baby. Beautifully said.
That's where I stand.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's these questions are so important, and I wish that we as a society took more time to ask questions and make it an okay process to, one, maybe not know the answer. That's okay. Doesn't make you dumb. Doesn't just means you haven't taken the time to understand it yet. And two, if you do and you realize that maybe what you believe in either isn't in alignment or is actually the opposite of how you view yourself, then again, that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make you, a hypocrite. Sometimes we don't know who we are and how we're showing up in this world until we question things and we don't have the awareness. Now, if we have the awareness and we keep doing it and we know it, that's maybe slightly different. That's, that pushes the line. But we can't have the expectation on ourselves that we just know everything. We do not even close.
No.
And so we have to allow ourselves that grace and that love and care that, we're going to mess up and we're going to learn, and that's okay. And that when we do that, and when we fail, or when we realize something about ourselves that we don't like, that we're not the first person in history to ever feel that way. And that isn't a problem. It's what you always say. It's not what it is. It's what you do next. And so if you're able to take what you learn and shift who you are to become more aligned, to become the greatest version, the grandest vision of who you are, then that actually is a benefit. And that's going to help all of us. You becoming the best version of yourself is what actually allows this world to become better. If everyone just decided, hey, I'm going to be the best version of myself right now, like that would alone, because we can't direct what everyone else is doing. Even we have this illusion that we think we can control all these things and all these people. It's like, no, if you really want to, that quote, if you really want to make a change in the world, then start to make changes within yourself.
So we know our conversations go a little messy sometimes, but that's the point. We all need a safe space to have messy conversations and dive into the heart of things and start to ask these questions, because it's the way that we learn about ourselves and what we believe within us. And we're not asking you to believe what we believe. We're asking you to believe what you believe and share that with us. That's the point of both the Heart Leader podcast and Suivera. The Heart Leader podcast is where our heart and our mind align. And until you know what's in your heart, then it's really impossible for your heart and your mind to align. And if you need a safe space to have these conversations, to really begin to explore what you believe, then we have a community for you. It is the Suivera community, and you can find it at the link below in the show notes. It's where many of us are starting to gather and have conversations much like this and understand how our inner critic, the inner critic that we talk about in Silence Your Inner Critic, really gets in and starts to wreak havoc on our minds and make us feel like we have to do the kind of things that we were talking about, like have that jealousy or create that separation. And in truth, do we really need to? Or is it this illusion that is playing in our minds?